What's up, guys? It's Cloud2K here, and welcome back to the Cloud Report. Today on the Cloud Report, I have a lot of different things to talk about. We're mainly going to focus on two different teams, but we'll get into that a little bit later in the episode. I want to start this episode by saying shout out to Taylor Hendricks. If you guys saw last week, he had a really, really gruesome injury, and I'm pretty sure I saw the report that he fractured his fibula, which is kind of like in your lower leg, like on the side, and then also dislocated his ankle. It was really, really hard to watch, and you could tell by the reactions of all his teammates on the court that it was a really emotional, really, really rough time. And it looked like he was just running down the court, and when he went to stop, he slipped or something. It was pretty much no contact. Nobody hit him. Nobody injured him. So it's always rough to see something like that, especially from a young player in Taylor Hendricks who's looking to have a breakout year. In year 2, I believe this was year 2 for Taylor Hendricks. So shout out to Taylor Hendricks. We're praying for your recovery, and obviously he's going to be going the rest of the season. So we're just hoping next season he comes back healthy and ready to break out. Speaking of injuries, there's also another one. Paolo Banchero is out for at least 4 to 6 weeks with an oblique tear. It's a bummer. He's been phenomenal this year. He had the first 50-point game of the season from anybody. He had the first 50-point game. He's been so dominant. He's made the Magic look pretty good to start the year when they've been struggling to kind of shoot the ball still. He's been shooting it well, and without him, they don't look that good. They're just not. The Magic are a team that they have some good role players. They have Franz who's hoping to take a jump and stuff like that, but it's all revolving around Paolo Banchero being a superstar, turning himself into a star in this league, and it's at least a month he's going to be out, probably a month and a half. It could be longer depending how his body reacts and with all with the stuff going on to fix it. And that really hurts. That really hurts his Magic team that early in the season people were like, oh, this could be a lock for a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference. I'm not saying it's over. I'm not saying there's no chance they're a top 6 team in the East, but this heavily hurts the chance, especially if it goes to the later end of that 6 weeks, because we're in the beginning of November. It could be damn near a week or two before Christmas until Paolo is back, which is obviously not good. So shout out Paolo Banchero also. It sucks to see young guys get hurt in this league. Well, it sucks to see anybody get hurt in this league, but especially young guys, and even one that's becoming a superstar right in front of our eyes. Also, Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, I feel like is something we need to talk about, and I've been seeing a lot of different opinions on this thing, and some good, some bad. Some think that he overreacted. Some think that it was valid. And so, okay, before I give my full opinion on it, I'll just let you guys know what happened. There's a reporter, and I think his name is Marcus Hayes from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Embiid took issue with Philadelphia Inquirer columnist Marcus Hayes, who mentioned the All-Star Center's late brother and his son, both named Arthur. So Joel Embiid named his son after his little brother Arthur, who did tragically pass away in a car accident during Embiid's rookie season in the NBA. In the columns questioning Embiid's professionalism and effort not being in shape after playing in the Paris Olympics, Embiid is yet to play for the 76ers this season. And I get it. He did play in the Olympics, and he was kind of he had some injuries at the end of last year. He played in the Olympics, and then he's out to start this year, and he's been injured. He shouldn't have been playing in the Olympics, and I understand that. I think he wanted to win a gold medal because at this point, most players in the NBA, or most players really in any country, want to win a gold medal for their country. So I'm not mad at Embiid for playing in the Olympics over the summer. It is rough to then not play the beginning of the season because of that injury when you had it beforehand. But I don't think that's really that big of an issue. The problem is, though, a visibly angry Joel Embiid shouted at and eventually shoved, they used the word shoved, a Philadelphia newspaper columnist in a locker room after the loss to the Memphis Grizzlies they had last night. I was recording it Saturday night. As reporters entered the locker room to talk to players, Embiid stood and confronted Hayes. He said, in quotes, "The next time you bring up my dead brother and my son again, you're going to see what I'm going to do to you, and I'm going to have to live with the consequences." That's okay. There's more to it. There's more to the quote. Embiid continued with several instances of profanity in the next few sentences. Hayes offered an apology, which Embiid did not want. "That's not the effing first time," Embiid said. Embiid later said he doesn't care what reporters say, "But you do," Hayes answered. So, there's still more to it. There's still more. We're going to keep going with more. You think that's bad. It keeps going. Embiid appeared to get louder at that point, and not long afterward pushed Hayes on the shoulder while the team's public relations chief got between them. Another PR person moved Tyrese Maxey's interview to the hallway outside the locker room, trying to clear reporters. At the same time, a team security person asked the media not to report on what had happened, and Embiid yelled over security guard, "They can do whatever they want," and Embiid said, "I don't give a shit." There's not really any way to paraphrase that one. Embiid had called Hayes out in a press conference following practice on Friday at the team's training facility, referring to him as Marcus, whatever his name is, and questioning critics on his prolonged absence. Hayes recently wrote a story saying Embiid disrespects the 76ers and the game, and that the team should consider giving fans a refund when Embiid doesn't play. And one more. We're almost done. I just feel like there's so much here we got to talk about it all. In quote from Joel Embiid, "I've done way too much for the city to be treated like this. Done way too effing much," Embiid said Friday. "I wish I was as lucky as other ones, but that doesn't mean that I'm not trying and I'm not doing whatever it takes to be out there, which I'm going to be pretty soon." So we'll start that last part there, basically saying I don't want to be injured. I want to be out on the court playing, which I fully believe. I don't think Embiid wants to be injured. It's something that's been plaguing his career, his entire playing career, is that he just doesn't really stay healthy. So I don't think there's any world where Embiid is happy to not be playing or does want to be playing. He wants to be out there. You can't really help injuries. I mean, I guess you can do some different preparations, stuff like that, but like most injuries, they're going to happen. They're freak accidents. It's just it's an unfortunate thing that happens, and you can't really. I understand you can get frustrated with the player. As fans of 76ers are frustrated with Joel Embiid for consistently getting hurt in big moments or not showing up or whatever it really is. But it's not. I don't want to say it's not his fault because it's like not really his fault. There's not really much you can do about it at this point in time if he's already injured. And like for this Marcus Hayes guy to then say, "Well, you named your son after your little brother who passed away," and like it was. Well, I'm gonna see if I can find the quote of the article, but it was for better or worse. What he was saying is, you named your first son after your little brother who passed away your rookie year, and like he would be disappointed in the fact that you're not playing, like you're never there. Like the first thing you got to do is be there, and you're not there. I'm summing it up in a very, very short way. If you want to read that whole article, I'm sure you can look it up. You'll be able to find the whole thing. But I kind of want to keep this. I want to keep this moving before we get into the rest of the games today. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that the article Marcus Hayes published was able to be wrote. His editor had to look over and said, "Sure, we're putting this out there," and then it got published. Not good. Not good. I don't know what kind of repercussions Marcus Hayes is going to face. Maybe not any. Maybe he might be banned from like post games interviews and stuff like that. I'm not really sure what they can do with that. I think Embiid's going to get fined. Unfortunately, I think as much as like justification you can make for him crashing out, I still think because he is an NBA player shoving a reporter, he is going to get fined. Unfortunately, and it is what it is. I don't think Embiid's going to be that upset with it. I think he's going to take the fine. He's going to move on. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that whole situation. I'm doing a short version of it because on the podcast on Wednesday, me and Levi are definitely going to be talking a lot more about this because it is a pretty big thing. And yeah, it's a pretty big thing. Moving on to the NBA games, I said there's only 2 teams I want to talk about. It's technically 4, but like only 2 in depth, and I'll do the ones not in depth early here. Cam Thomas is nuts. Cam Thomas is really, really good at basketball. I think we all know that. The Nets are 3-3, and I have their schedule pulled up here because in this 3 wins they have, where is it? So they lost to the Hawks by 4 on opening night. They lose to the Magic then by 15, who had Paolo Banchero. They beat the Milwaukee Bucks, and that's one of their wins. They beat the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, I understand we talked about them last episode. The Bucks, and I think actually I'm more to talk about the Bucks now. The Bucks are not good. They have a lot going on, but still, they beat the Bucks with Dame and Giannis. They lose to the Nuggets in overtime. They had a double-digit lead on the Nuggets, and then ended up blowing the lead into the overtime, and then they lose the game. But still, to fight and have a big lead on the defending champions, or I guess 2 years ago, defending champions. But still, I guess Nikola Jokic, one of the best players, if not the best player in the world. It's phenomenal for this Nets team. And then they beat the Grizzlies. Okay, they got some injuries going on there, but you take it. They beat the Bulls, who the Bulls are like 3-3. They're like, I think they're 3-3. So the Bulls have been pretty solid to start this year. They have some good wins, and then today, as I'm recording this on Sunday, they play the Detroit Pistons. So there's a world. The Brooklyn Nets are 4-3, and a lot of that I think you have to give the credit to Cam Thomas. Now it's been a lot of different people that have played really, really good, but I'm going to pull up Cam Thomas's stats because he, like I said, has been phenomenal for them. He's averaging 28 points, 3.5 rebounds, and about 3 assists. And he's had games of 36, 24, 32, 26. Had a 19-point game against Memphis, but they still won that game. And then 32 against Chicago. He's been phenomenal. We already know Cam Thomas is a guy that's not afraid to take a shot. And that's exactly what this Brooklyn Nets team needs. He's takes every shot. He's not afraid of a shot. We've even seen his passing be better this year, which he's only averaging 3 assists. But it's not like it's a lot going on with the Nets. I mean, Cam Johnson has been playing very well too. But the guy I also want to talk about, if I can pull up his stats here. Sorry, should have had this ahead of time, but I wasn't really ready. Dennis Schroeder has been really, really good to start. He didn't have the best game against Chicago with 9 points, but he had 7 rebounds and 7 assists as well. So whatever. But game 1, he had 13, 3, and 7. Then he had 20, a rebound, 6 assists, 29 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. Against Denver, that game they lose in overtime, 28 points, 14 assists for Dennis Schroeder. Then he had 33 points, 2 rebounds, 8 assists, and then against Memphis. And then, of course, 9 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. He's been very, very good. He's averaging 22 points, about 3 rebounds, 8 assists on the season so far. And again, it's only through 6 games, so it's not like this is kind of a bit of an overreaction on what this backcourt of Cam Thomas and Dennis Schroeder is. But they're playing phenomenal. They're playing really, really. They're comparative to what we thought they were going to be to go into the season. They're playing phenomenal. Is how I should word that, because of course, yeah, they're not. They're 3-3. They're not a great basketball team, but they're playing much better than a lot of people thought they were going to be, and myself included. I did not think they were going to be this good. Shout out to Brooklyn Nets. I'll get into them more probably in a couple weeks. We'll see how the season kind of plays out for them with their injuries and stuff like that, and see if maybe they are. Is there a world where this Brooklyn Nets team hits the play-in? I don't think so, but hey, the way the NBA is, you never know. You never know. The next thing we want to talk about, which just really quickly, is the Pelicans. The Pelicans, man, the injury bug is rough with this team. Obviously, we know, I think it was the first game of the season, first or second game of the season, DeJounte Murray fractures his hand. He's going to be out for a while. Now, oh boy, here we go. DeJounte Murray, he underwent a successful hand surgery and is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. That was last week. So still probably at least a month yet on DeJounte Murray. Trey Murphy, he's been having his hamstring issues. He's out. His stats will be updated in approximately 2 weeks, also last week. So we got probably another week or so until we really know how long Trey Murphy's going to be out for. Now, just on Friday, CJ McCollum, the Pelicans announced Friday that CJ McCollum was diagnosed with a right adductor strain and is expected to miss at least 2 to 3 weeks. Now, I've been going to the gym the past few months, so I'm learning, right? But when I do the adductor exercises, when you sit on that machine, I know you guys can't see my lower body, but you sit on a machine. It's like in your. I'm gonna just assume it's in like your hips and your leg. I'm pretty sure that's what your adductor is. Just basically going off what I work out at the gym. So if I'm wrong on that, I'm wrong on that. Now also, the Pelicans announced Herb Jones is expected to miss a minimum of 2 to 4 weeks after sustaining a right shoulder strain and a small, low-grade partial thickness tear in his rotator cuff. Rotator cuff injuries are not ever a good thing. It's pretty much what makes like your arm go around like this. Again, I think I could be completely wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section below. But your rotator cuff is what makes your arms rotate, right? Is that the right thing to say there? Also, Jordan Hawkins left the game early too as well. He had, I think it was just a back injury. I don't remember fully, but that is 4 potential-ish, 3 definite starters and 1 guy you never know, because Trimmer for the third has been trying to hit the starting lineup for a while now. That's 4 huge rotation players. That's basically 4 of your top 6 players that are out for at least 2 to 3 weeks. Not a good thing. It's not a good thing. They beat the Pacers. That's his level of the Pacers. I don't have much about them today. We might have more about them later because the Pacers have not been very good to start the year, and it's been rough to watch. But again, yeah, this Pelicans team just always seems to have issues with health, whether it's Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, CJ McCollum now, DeJounte Murray now, Herb Jones. It's just like every time you look at the Pelicans, oh, this guy's out. And this is one of those teams on 2K. This is literally a 2K team that you build through trades, and you're like looking at it on paper. You're like, oh, this is like an 8-man rotation of 80+ overalls, and it's like, oh, okay, we're going to do something. And then it just doesn't work. This team looks better on paper than it ever does on the court, and it's been this way for a couple years now. And I really do like Brandon Ingram. I really do like Zion Williamson. I really do like CJ McCollum, DeJounte Murray, Herb. I like a lot of players on this Pelicans team, but I just don't like the Pelicans because they just don't seem to mesh. These guys, just as great of players as they are, they don't really seem to mesh together well. And listen, this is a really, really rough injury bug. They could be a good team this year. They were what, the 4 or 5 seed for a while last year. They ended up falling down to the play-in at the end of the season. They kind of fell off a little bit. But I don't know. I just feel like there's too much going on at this Pelicans team that they as my man Pierre says, numbers on the board, and I'm sure a lot of other people say this, sometimes you got to wonder if addition by subtraction is the best way, where you have too many people that want the ball in their hand, and you got to move a person or two out for some more role players to kind of fit around your stars, and maybe that's the next step for this Pelicans team. Obviously, we know the Brandon Ingram rumors have been around for a couple of years, like a year or two now. People will worry about maybe Zion gets moved. I don't think that's ever a thing. CJ McCollum potentially might get traded. Just like there's been a couple guys that they've been talking about trading, and I think at some point you have to make that trade for really any one of them, just to kind of knock down the number of ball handlers and kind of build more of a full, complete team with role players versus having 4 to 5 guys that want the ball in their hands at all times. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe you guys disagree with that. Let me know down below, but I guess that's just really my way of talking about it. So, the two teams I want to talk about today just played last night. They played against each other last night. And Donovan Mitchell hit the game-winning shot, the mid-range shots. I'm talking about the Milwaukee Bucks and the Cleveland Cavaliers. One's doing really, really well. One's doing not very good. We'll start with the Bucks, and I will finish off on the Cavs on like a high note. The Bucks are 1-5. Donovan Mitchell hits the game-winning shot last night. Like I just said, Dame had 41 points. 34 from Giannis. They had 75 combined points, and they still lose the game. Again, it took a big effort from Donovan Mitchell, including the game winner, but you still lose the game. Giannis has been pretty good this year. I feel like for the most part, he had that weird quote saying that if we don't win, there's a chance he gets traded next year or two. I don't think there's any way in the world you get traded, Giannis, unless you walk in and ask for a trade. Michael Porter Jr. also made a comment that like this could be their last dance, and if they don't do something, maybe one of them gets moved. Kind of a weird thing going on with some of the teams that were good last year are having really weird starts and making some really weird comments about it. I don't really know what's going on with that. Doc Rivers, not a good coach. Listen, Doc Rivers, he has a championship with the Boston Celtics in 2008. We all knew the championship. It's the one for years Celtics fans talked about, and they won last year. Shout out the Celtics, as much as that hurts me to say, shout out the Celtics. Other than that, he has a history of blowing leads, losing Game 7s. They've been under 500 since Doc Rivers got there after he took over for Adrian Griffin last. They were, 13, 14 games over 500 with Adrian Griffin last year. They fire Adrian Griffin because he lost the locker room. And even the players, after they fired Adrian Griffin and signed Doc Rivers, remember the players were dancing on the court after their game. The Doc Rivers has been under 500 by quite a bit of a margin since that day. I don't understand. There's something wrong in Milwaukee. And I don't know if it comes from the front office or the players, because I'm trying to think of a way I want to word this. You're over 500. They were the 2 seed with Adrian Griffin, the 2 or 3 seed with Adrian Griffin. But you say that the players are saying that he lost the locker room. The front office is saying he lost the locker room. Reporters are saying that as well. Okay, so you fire him midseason. Okay, I remember we talked on the podcast last year. It was weird timing, weird stuff. You bring on Doc Rivers, a guy that consistently, like I said, has a history of blowing the leads, has a history of losing big Game 7s. But it's like, okay, he's a veteran coach. Adrian Griffin was a first-time head coach. So you bring in a veteran head coach for this team that's trying to win a championship. Maybe in some sense of the world, that kind of makes sense, right? If you want to look at it that way. They've not been good. Their offense is bad. They're ranked 28th in total offense this year. And this is after last night's game. So this isn't like a game or two before. This is after last night's game. They ranked 28th in offense, only ahead of the Philadelphia 76ers, who are missing Paul George and Joel Embiid, and the Utah Jazz, who are 0-6 and just really don't have a lot of talent. They have a lot of young guys, but not a lot of like superstar, but like breaking out talent outside of like Lauri Markkanen and a couple other things, a couple other pieces. The offense is not good. You have Damian Lillard, who, I mean, for a long time made a case for one of the best point guards in the league. Some people might consider him the best point guard in the league at some point in time. That's okay. He was definitely, I think, a top 3 for a good majority of his career. An offensive juggernaut, a guy that could average 30-plus points, hits the big shots. We already know Dame time. you have Giannis Antetokounmpo, one of the craziest, most dominant forces the NBA has ever seen. Probably the biggest, most dominant force we've seen since Shaq in the 2000s, or 90s, 2000s. But they just can't score the ball. Because it's either, Dame, you have the ball, and you're going to run pick and rolls with Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis and a couple other guys, and you're going to get your shots off, and it's going to look pretty decent. Or we're giving the ball to Giannis, and where he's going to hit the paint, he's going to attack the paint, he's going to make some mid-range pull-ups, he's going to do his thing, but it's never together. It's Dame, it's Giannis, it's never Dame and Giannis. And that's a really, really bad thing to have. Because, yeah, as good as two individual players are, if they don't really work together, it's rough. And you look at Damian Lillard and Giannis, it's like, how is that not like a perfect match, right? I remember when Dame got traded to Milwaukee, I'm like, this is like almost the best running mate for both Dame and Giannis to have each other. It's not working. Giannis does not set screens. He's for as dominant and as physical as Giannis is, he does not set screens. The pick and roll between Dame and Giannis, which is in our heads for a lot of people thought was going to be one of the best in basketball, doesn't really work because Giannis doesn't want to set screens. I don't know what's going on. And then they're also ranked 24th in defense. Now, they weren't very great last year defensively. You had a backcourt of Damian Lillard and Malik Beasley last year. It wasn't going to be good. Now you have a backcourt of Damian Lillard and Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent Jr. is a better defender than Malik Beasley is, but still not much going on there. Chris Middleton, I understand fully, is not playing yet, but he's not fixing this defense. He might make them slightly better. It might go from 24th to like 18th, and maybe you take that as a W. Maybe you think that's a part that can help jump you into some wins. Okay. Chris Middleton's not fixing this team. He's not going to blanket all their problems. And I feel like I've said this multiple times before. Maybe it was on a podcast. Maybe it was on this episode last week. I don't know. I just get so frustrated by some of these teams. It's like you have top-end talent. You have some decent role players, and then you just aren't performing because they don't really work together. I could go on a long, long tangent about the Bucks, but I'm not going to do it because I'm already at plus 20 minutes on this episode. And you guys know I like to keep this kind of short. It's just the way I do it. Let's talk about the other team. The Cleveland Cavaliers are now 7-0 after beating the Milwaukee Bucks last night. Now they didn't have the craziest like schedule to start the year. I had it pulled up here, and I kind of lost it for a second. But I had the Cavs schedule to start the year, and it hasn't been exactly the craziest hardest schedule. So we have here started at game 1. They beat the Raptors game 1. The Raptors aren't a very good team. They then take on the Pistons, not a very good team. They beat the Wizards, not a very good team. They beat the Knicks. There you go. That's a quality win. Beating the Knicks is a quality win. They beat the Lakers, who at that time were 3-1 when they beat them to make them 3-2. Quality, good win. They beat the Magic without Paolo Banchero. Okay, you take the win, but you take the win. And then they beat the Bucks last night, who, as we just talked about, aren't a great team. But Donovan Mitchell has been phenomenal. Darius Garland is playing better than he was last year, and Evan Mobley has taken an offensive jump. Finally, year 5? Is this year 5 of Evan Mobley? It's year 4 or 5. Evan Mobley's been around for a few years, and we're finally seeing that jump that we needed from him. Donovan Mitchell right now is averaging about 24.5 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 50% from the floor. He that game against the Lakers, man, he had, 13 of their first 20 or something like that. Like, he had a phenomenal start. Again, he hit the game winner last night against the Milwaukee Bucks, where he took the ball into the paint, got it knocked away. You thought he was going to turn it over, almost went backcourt, gets back to the mid-range, pulls up, bang. Donovan Mitchell is right now the best shooting guard in the NFL, and I almost said NFL, the NBA. I think he's playing like the best shooting guard right now. Anthony Edwards has had his moments too, and he's been pretty good, but I think, honestly, at this point in time, Donovan Mitchell is the best shooting guard in the league. Again, just to start this year. Let's see. They are 4th ranked. They're the 4th ranked defense, which makes sense with guys like Evan Mobley and Jared Allen anchoring the defense. But guys like the backcourt of Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell have also held their weight defensively. They have Isaac Okoro. Isaac Okoro finally had a good game, and we all know he can play defense. This is something this Cavs team has tried to build themselves on, is a solid defense with the front court they have, and we're finally seeing it. A lot of it starts with Evan Mobley. Is just, I really like Evan Mobley. I really like watching him play. He's been a fantastic player for them this year. Also, the second offense only behind the Boston Celtics, because the Boston Celtics have basically 4 to 5 all-star level players on the court at one time. It's just, we know who the Boston Celtics are. They're the best. The Celtics the best team in the league this year? Yeah. I think OKC's been good to start the year. The Cavs been good to start the year. But even though the Celtics do have a loss, I do think the Celtics are still the best team in the league. So I'm not going to take that away from them yet. And so I mean, we already know how that does. Darius Garland, like I said, Darius Garland looking better than last year. Evan Mobley offense looking good. Listen, he had some moments last night where he gets the ball in the 3-point line. He puts the ball in the court. He drives, puts his shoulder into somebody, throws up a layup. He's shooting. I had the stats up here. He's shooting 41% from three so far to start this year. Only 7 games, but still 41%. Also only on about 2 attempts, a little bit less than 2 attempts. It's like 1.7, 1.8, I think. If you can get Evan Mobley to at least hit, like I said, 1 to 2 corner threes a game, or from maybe the wing, it opens up so much for Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland to attack the paint. And that's something they kind of were having a hard time with, because he shot like less than 35%, and maybe even less than 30% his first year or two in the league. Like, he hasn't really been a great shooter. We haven't seen that offensive leap from him that we've hoped for up until now this season. So maybe the Cavs are legit, man. I think there's a world where the Cavs are a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. And I know going into the year, I think a lot of people had them like 4 through 6 in that kind of mix down there. But honestly, between the Celtics and the Knicks, and I think the Cavs can be right up there as the top 3 seeds in the Eastern Conference. So I mean that's crazy. And I've been seeing some fans on Twitter, some Cavaliers fans on Twitter saying this is the best team we've had. Even like prior, like they're talking like 2016 Cavs team where they obviously come back 3-1, and it's like they just have a much better rotation. They don't have a LeBron James, of course. You don't have a Kyrie Irving, of course, but you have a Darius Garland, you have a Donovan Mitchell, you have an Evan Mobley, you have a Jared Allen, you have Max Strus hasn't really played yet. Alex Okoro had a good game. There's a lot of different pieces this Cleveland Cavaliers team has that I think. Do you expect Donovan Mitchell to keep having these nuclear performances? I don't know. Like, he shows he can do it time and time again, but to rely on that's maybe a tough thing to do. I think I'm going to pencil them in. I don't want to say pencil them in, but I think they can definitely fight, be a top 3 seed in the East. Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. Now, the last part of this episode, we do the fan questions on Twitter, but before we do that, let's hit the commercial break.
Oh, man.
Hey, you.
Who? Me?
What are you doing?
Nothing. I'm just kind of bored right now.
Do you like sports?
Yeah, I like sports.
How about podcasts?
I mean, yeah, who doesn't listen to a podcast nowadays?
Then you should check out Timeout with J&G. Check out Timeout with J&G every Wednesday as they give their expert opinions and professional picks on NFL, NBA, and college football. Anything you could want, they do. Check it out on the screen now. Let's go.
Whoa, this podcast is awesome. Thanks, weird voice.
So this week's fan question comes from Brighton Season, the editor, and he says, are the Brooklyn Nets as bad as everyone thought they were going to be this season? My answer to that is no. It's very, very early. There's a chance this team still misses the play-in. And a lot of people thought they would be one of the worst, if not the worst team in the league, with the teams like the Wizards and the Detroit Pistons, and maybe some people thought Charlotte. I was a little bit higher on Charlotte than that. But again, still too early. They are 3-3, and they've had some good wins against some teams that we thought were going to be pretty good. I still don't think. I think I said earlier in the episode. It's kind of funny that they were the question. I already talked about them a little bit, but I do think there's a chance that they maybe fight for that 10 seed play-in spot. Do I think it's likely? No, not really. I don't think they have enough around it. They have Cam Thomas playing really good to start the year. Dennis Schroeder playing really good to start the year. Nick Claxton playing good. Cam Johnson playing good. They have a lot of people playing good. Dorian Finney-Smith, he had that weird shot at the end of the other game. You can move on from that. Like, I just don't think they have the talent to really compete. Because, like, if I'm looking at the play-in spots in the Eastern Conference, I'm thinking of, like, the Miami Heat, the Atlanta Hawks, the Chicago Bulls, and maybe the Pacers with the way they're starting. And I look at those teams, and I think they all have significantly more talent than this Brooklyn Nets team does. I think, again, any given night, Cam Thomas can give you 30+, and maybe even Dennis Schroeder now can give you 25, 30+. But I think they're going to be as bad as everyone thought they were. No. But again, I think their ceiling at this point is maybe the play-in, and I don't even think they really want to do that. Like, obviously, they don't want to lose, but it does nothing for them to get into the play-in this year than lose, and you know what I mean? It doesn't really do much for them to do that. So yeah, I don't think they're going to be as bad as everyone thought they were, but I don't think they're going to be that great either, pretty much to answer your question. So that'll do it for this week's episode of the Cloud Report. I talked about a couple different teams. If you guys want me to talk about your favorite team, if I'm just not talking about them for different reasons, put them down in the comments below. Let me know what you want me to talk about, or follow my Twitter, Cloud2K, YouTube, to let me know some questions you want me to answer, some fan questions. I put up the Twitter question every Friday. Just like it, respond with what you want me to what question you have for me, and I'll answer it on this video, and you'll see it there. Appreciate you guys watching. Go down, like, comment, subscribe. I'm on the road to 500 subscribers, and I cannot do that without you. We've been doing really, really well this past 2-3 weeks, and let's keep the momentum going. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.